What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to do an updated look at the classic things I hate about my car video. So now that I've owned the R35 GTR for over 3 years, I figured I would bring this video back. I did this like the first month I owned the car, and then I made an updated version around 6-month mark. Now that I've owned this for 3 years, I really know the 2014 GTR inside and out. I've daily driven it, I've been on the track with it, I know every little aspect to this car, and I really have a lot of good insight as to what it's like owning this car. So the reason for this video of going over things I hate about it and things that potential owners might hate about it is because it would suck to spend a lot of money on a car and then the coming weeks after you buy it, maybe a month or so later, you start finding little things about it that you didn't really understand or notice on the test drive and make you maybe question your purchase. So if you are planning to buy an R35 GTR, of course it's an amazing car. I do love it. I think it is one of the absolute best cars you could ever buy. However, it's not perfect. There are some things about it that I still hate, and there are some things that potential owners might not like, and you might get into this car in a month or so later, once you really understand what it's like, you might kind of have some buyer's remorse. And the reason I say that, every car I've ever driven, I've driven hundreds of cars, you learn a little bit on the test drive, but then it really takes a couple weeks of owning the car to really understand all the little aspects of the car. So with that said, in this video, there is one thing about the R35, 2014 particularly, that I absolutely hate about this car. It is the stupidest thing ever. The next 4 things, honestly, I don't hate. So realistically, there's only one thing I actually hate about this. The next things are things that some of you may not like. So with that said, the one thing I hate about this thing is the fact that when you are in reverse, it will beep at you. And it doesn't beep at you to let you know you don't have your seatbelt on or anything like that. The interior just beeps. So let's fire up the car. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put the car into reverse, as you can see. So that beeping noise is what you hear, and just to prove you wrong, because a lot of people, every time I make this video, say, oh, it's because your seatbelt's not on. Seatbelt. Nope. Still beeping. What about my emergency brake? It must be that, right? Nope. So now we are in reverse, as you can see. And it just beeps. It is so loud. The speaker for it, I believe, is down here. So I'm sure there is a way I could deactivate it or something. I know a lot of people, oh my gosh, that was annoying. A lot of people may think, well, it's probably alerting cars from the outside. Nope, you can still only hear it on the inside. So that is genuinely my one and only major complaint with the R35. It is of course very nitpicky, obviously. Now that doesn't mean I want to trade it in for a Prius or a minivan or anything like that. It is just the stupidest feature. I don't know why it does it. 2014 I think is one of the only years it does this, like 13 through 15. The early ones don't do it, the later ones don't do it. 2014, you get this. I have seen a few people send me links to a kit that can disable it. Haven't really looked into doing that too much. I think it's a couple $100, and none of the kits look too professional, the way you gotta cut wires and stuff. So I might just find the speaker to it and maybe just cut it off or something. I don't really know. I kind of get used to it, but nonetheless, it's a very piercing noise. The way my ears hear sound, it just is really, really annoying. But that is really the only thing that I just hate about the car. I think it's stupid. So that's about it for that. On to things that some people may not like, because I get, of course, a ton of comments all the time, messages, emails, DMs, all sorts of things on the GTR. People who bought them asking me, you know, is this right? Is this right? So with that said, the next thing has to do with the transmission. So we are going to be talking about the transmission noises. Your bell housing will make a lot of noise. When you're idling at a stoplight or in neutral or something like that, idling, the bell housing rattles. It sounds so bad. It sounds like the transmission is falling apart. On top of that, you'll hear a lot of noises within the drivetrain. You might hear some clicks and pops when you're in reverse, when the wheels are hard turned, and you'll just hear a lot of weird little noises. So take a quick listen. Now it may be very hard to hear, but you can probably hear a little bit of a rolling noise. So it's pretty common for you to hear a lot of drivetrain noise within the car. When you shift from gear into park or park to reverse or anything like that, you're gonna hear the actual actuators doing their thing. You'll hear the bell housing rattling, you'll hear the transmission engaging. It is a very mechanical car. Definitely one thing I really love about it because it really gives it a lot of character, but being this is so much different than any other car I've ever experienced, if you're new to the GTR scene, it is gonna be weird and you're gonna take some time to get used to it because it doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound like anything. For the original owners of the GTRs, they have a thing you even sign saying that you're aware that this is a race car pretty much for the roads, and it makes a lot of weird noises, and it definitely takes some getting used to. You might think it's broken, but it's perfectly fine. If you're not into a mechanical raw car, this might not be the car for you. So that is something that you might notice more and more the more you drive it and after you've already test driven and things like that. So next up, the third thing on the list is the slop in the transmission. So like you kind of already are figuring out with the noises it makes, it is a race car for the roads. The way this transmission is designed, all of the gears have just the slightest bit of play in them because they're designed to be used at optimal high temperature, high performance track settings. And with that, metal expands, therefore in the slow speed, when the car's not that hot, the gears have to have a little bit of slop in them. That way they're precise at high temperatures. So what does that give you? That gives you a car that is very rough around town. 2017 and up though, it is a huge upgrade. In the next few years, I definitely plan on upgrading to a newer one because they've revised that a lot. But if you're looking at a 2009 to 2016, you're gonna notice a lot of play in the transmission. So if I go ahead and put the car into gear, when I first let off the brake and give it a little bit of gas, you kind of have to let it engage just a little bit, and then into reverse, same sort of deal, letting my foot off the brake, giving it a little bit of gas. It kind of clunks its way into gear, and then same thing, back into gear now, giving it a little bit of gas. You can just kind of feel the car. It's hard to really show it on camera, of course, it's a hard thing to demonstrate, but you will notice around town, even when you just give the car a little bit of gas, it'll just take that second for the transmission to engage. And then if you are slowly shifting around town, you might feel a little bit of a lurch or things like that. When you hit the brakes, you will feel the transmission weigh down the car and pull you back, just like you're in a manual transmission. When you let your foot off the clutch in a manual, you'll kind of feel the car's weight on the transmission. This car does the exact same thing. So with this car, treat it like a manual, drive it like a manual, and it will respond like a manual. It just has those aspects. And if you're used to a very smooth automatic, or if you're thinking this is just an automatic sports car, you're gonna be very wrong. This is a old school, pretty much a first generation dual clutch automated manual transmission, and it is very clunky, and you'll notice that around town. If you have a lot of stop and go traffic, bumper to bumper sort of things, it is gonna be an annoying car to drive. I don't really enjoy driving this in heavy traffic. It's not that fun. And when I hop into the Supra, which has the ZF 8-speed, a normal torque converter automatic, that thing is so much more comfortable and so much easier to drive around town. So you will definitely notice this car isn't the best for that sort of circumstance. It does make it an insane car when you're on the track though, but that is definitely something to note. So next on the list, this was something in my original video, and actually conveniently I've already messed this up. So it is the heated seat buttons. So here's where they are located. They are on the side of the seat. As you can see, the button is sitting right there. The one for the passenger seat is the same. It's on the far right side. And what you may notice is it is in the high position. My heated seat button is actually left on. And the thing with that is, and I didn't even plan this, when you're in the car, you cannot see that button whatsoever. So let me just hop in real quick and show you. So you guys saw the button is on with the door closed now. If I show you kind of a POV of what you see when you're in this car, you can't really see the button. You gotta really look over to the left, and you can kind of see it back here, but nonetheless, it's kind of hard to see. The problem is on the passenger side, you cannot see it whatsoever. Nothing is indicating that the heated seat button is on, but you literally have to climb way over, and now you can finally see it and see if it's on or off. And the problem with that is if you have a passenger a lot, especially in cold climates, and they leave the heat seat button on, you will never know if it is still on unless they've turned it off. That really hasn't happened much in the last 2 years, to be honest. But when it does, if someone's in the passenger seat, I always gotta double check, say, hey, did you turn your heat seater off? I always got to double check with them and say, hey, did you turn your heated seat off? Because if they've left it on, I have no way of knowing if it's on, and it will be on the next time you get in your car, even if there is no passenger. I did have a few people comment and say, well, there's a sensor, it knows if somebody's sitting in the seat. That is not correct at all. If the heat button is on, it will be on no matter what. If there's nobody in there, your button will be on, and the seat will be getting hot with nobody in it. While that doesn't really make any difference with the car, I'm just not a big fan of buttons on when they're not being used. It just drives me crazy. So to know that sometimes this heated seat can be turned on and you have no way of knowing if it is actually on or off without someone there, it is a little annoying just because you can't see the button. And even like mine, I left it on not knowing, and that has happened to me in the past. I get in the car and start driving, especially in North Carolina when it'll be freezing one day and then hot the next day. If it's been left on the next day, let's say it's a summer feeling day, 5 minutes down the road, all of a sudden my butt is super hot and I'm like, why is my butt so hot? Look over. Oh, yesterday was 30 degrees. I had the seat button on and it is still on because I couldn't even see it, and it just kind of didn't cross my mind. So that is definitely something a little annoying, a little weird quirk with the car. I wish they put the buttons right here. I think that'd be a little bit more convenient, but nonetheless, a little weird, annoying thing. So that brings us to the fifth and final thing. Some of you may hate a Nissan GT-R as your car, which happens to do with your OEM brake pads. So like I talked about earlier, this is a race car for the road. The OEM brake pads are high performance brake pads designed for high heat once again. And what that gives you is around town, they are incredibly squeaky, noisy, loud. They squeal so bad. It is the worst sounding thing I've ever heard. I'll play a quick clip from 2 years ago when I had the original pads in the car and how bad it was and how annoying it was. And as you can hear, that is crazy. Around town, it drove me crazy. You drive around, you slow down, you know, in front of people or something if you're near anything, and it is just embarrassing because your car sounds like a piece of junk, even though, I mean, these are six-figure cars brand new. It's ridiculous. So that is super annoying. Of course, I've had many people ask me, hey, what's up with these brake pads? So I ended up swapping them out about 2 years ago for Posi Quiet brake pads. They've been really good. I've had them run for 2 years. They were a whopping 110 bucks for all four corners, super cheap. They don't make any noise. Every now and then in the rain or something, or after a lot of performance driving, I might hear a little squeal, but it's nowhere near as bad as the way they were stock. And that is going to drive a lot of people crazy because nobody likes squealing brakes. It is a race car, of course, but for daily use, it is annoying. So there you guys have it. That is the video. Kind of anticlimactic, to be quite honest. 3 years later, owning the R35 Nissan GT-R, a 2014 to be exact. The only thing I hate, the beeping, is just the stupidest thing ever. I don't know why they have it. It just makes no sense. I know I put the car in reverse. I don't need the most annoying beep telling me that. The rest of the few things, the 4 other items, this is a different car to own. It is nothing like I've ever driven. I've driven hundreds of cars, of course, filming YouTube review videos all the time. The M4 CS and the 2020 GT500 are the closest cars I've ever driven to this, but both of them still just don't have that raw aspect that this car has. A 2017, like I said, and up is a little bit more refined. But there are some quirks with the car and a little weird things that some of you may not like. It's a weird car to own. It's not for everybody. To me, 3 years later, I love it and I will never not own a GTR. So for everybody who's gonna take this video way out of context and not understand the point of this video, no, I'm not trading it for a Prius or something. This car is a beast and I freaking love it. 700 horsepower E85 full bolt-on GTR is a monster to own. But no car is perfect and there's some weird things about it that some of you may hate and the one thing that I don't like. But anyway guys, that's it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys next video.